Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
The truth shall set you free.
You can't handle the truth.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Hasta la vista, baby.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Hello and welcome to the Creative Control podcast. I'm your host, Kenan Akbulut, and thank you for joining us for episode 17. This week's topic is going to be movie sequels we deserve, yet we have not had. Joining me for today's show, from the Creative Control team, we have Sasha, Sal, and Amrita. How you doing, guys?
Cool. All good.
Thank you very much for joining us. So as I said, today we're discussing movie sequels that we deserve, but we have never gotten. So it's just some ideas that we can bring to the table, whether it's the second or a third or a fourth part of a film franchise with things that we think, yeah, I wanted to see more of that. It's left us on cliffhangers. Maybe they were planned sequels or trilogies, but they never happened due to performance, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start off the bat because this is one that has been going around for ages and it's something that we talk about on Zito's Gang podcast all the time, which is Dredd. So Dredd is a movie that didn't perform very well at the box office. Not the original Sylvester Stallone one, bear in mind. Not that performed particularly well or was well received, but Dredd from 2012 with Carl Urban. It was a really gritty movie. I thought it was really well praised. It was kind of very similar to The Raid, and I think maybe that's where it suffered with its criticism in terms of its kind of plot, but working its way up through the towers and levels. But yeah, it was a great film, and I've always wanted to see a sequel for Dredd. Any other Dredd lovers?
Oh,
Yes.
hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dredd
That was
came out-
top on my list as well, weirdly enough, but it has to be made. I mean, you said it received like a pretty poor, a poor review at the box office, but actually, I think you're spot on that it was very, very, very similar to The Raid, which came out, I think it was like 2 months before Dredd came out. So it seemed like one was copying the other, frankly. But genuinely, I love the two of them. I think Dredd was amazing.
Yeah, I think mainly because they pushed the 3D in the marketing, because when it came out, it was Dredd 3D. Most performances were 3D. There wasn't that many 2D performances because it was around the time when 3D was kind of wavering. So, you know, it was a combination of things. It was that, it was an 18.
Yeah, because I would be 13.
I
disagree
with
you.
There was middle of the 3D, like full-on push. Yeah. Because it was like the third or fourth film that came out was 3D, but specifically made 3D, not like converted into 3D.
Yeah.
And it was the only good one out of all of them.
But 13.4 million at the US box office, 45 million worldwide, just didn't gather it. But I think, you know, when people have seen it and it's, you know, they've seen it on streaming services, you know, digital, all that kind of stuff, people enjoy it and they want to see more of it. Yeah, some big Dredd fans here. So what else do you guys want to bring to the table? What are the films that you want to see a sequel to? Go for it.
Oh. Actually, tomorrow was the one I was talking about. Oh, yeah, Lisa. Yeah. Elisa, definitely.
So for those that are listening to the podcast, thanks, Sasha, we got Elita Battle Angel. Sasha, why do you want to see a sequel to this?
Because they only just skimmed the fucking surface, that's why. Man,
Sasha holding up a box set of Alita.
I waited like, what, 30 years for this damn movie, like almost 25 years for this damn movie, man. And I got it, and it was everything I wanted. It was great, man. I fucking loved it. And
yeah, we went and saw it together. And me not being a fan of it, I really enjoyed it. But knowing you as a fan who then enjoyed it, that should speak volumes for what they did with it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was coming off the back end of 20th Century Fox during the merger. And, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't really get that big a push marketing-wise. And that's mainly because Disney wanted to put all their eggs in, Captain Marvel, which is their own product, you know? And personally, I know a lot of Marvel fanboys love the old Captain Marvel, but for me, I just, Alita was the better film in my opinion. I know I'm probably the minority there, but I really did love Battle Angel Alita as an adaptation, as a standalone film itself. Robert Rodriguez, I felt, did a wonderful job with it because he managed to change up his film style to make it match that of how James Cameron shoots his movies. I think one of the major points of that is that it's probably one of the few films where he actually had a DOP, because normally Robert Rodriguez does it with himself. So he actually got Cameron's DOP, used Cameron's guys over at Weta that dealt with Avatar for the effects and the mocap stuff. And I think they did a fantastic job. And Rosa Salazar, she was fantastic in that role. I've never seen her in anything else. I just felt the cast was spot on, and it was really like a really solid movie. It made enough to break it. It didn't just break even; it made a profit. Yeah. And they haven't ruled out there not being any sequels. They just haven't. You understand? Disney have a lot on their plate. They're in the Star Wars and Marvel business, and this was something that they just obtained through Fox. They inherited it, yeah, they didn't spend any money on it. So I think with Disney Plus, Robert Rodriguez has said himself, with Disney Plus come into the arena now, they're looking for content. It might still just happen. I don't think Battle Angel Alita has reached. Is it on Disney Plus?
I'm not sure. I think so.
I don't think so.
Because I don't think that it is. It wasn't when I was looking when Disney Plus first came out. If that's changed now, maybe if more people got wind to it on there, that would probably renew an interest, really. But at present, really, it's still an undiscovered gem for a lot of people. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's one I strongly recommend. And yeah.
I feel like I would back a lot of what you said there in terms of it being like an unsung hero.
Yeah, it is actually available on Disney Plus now.
Oh, amazing. Cool. It was I remember watching it knowing vaguely about the context and where it came from, but not a whole lot, I'll be honest. But I actually really, really loved the film. As a woman as well, I mean, it was a great kind of feminist piece about like empowering and her taking her own destiny into her own hands and all of this, sticking it to the man, the whole lot. And I loved the way it was done. I think Robert Rodriguez did a fantastic job on the film.
Yeah, it looked beautiful.
Yeah, it was a really like a stunning film. And it was also just very entertaining. It wasn't just critical. It was actually a whole load of popcorn fun as well. And I missed that, but I think it was somewhat overlooked at the time of its release and hasn't really ever been rechecked since. And I don't know if that's because it's Robert Rodriguez and people tend to think of him, stupid people, I'm going to say that, but stupid people tend to think of him as, like a kind of cult director or someone that does like niche things. But he deserves his time with a big film, and I would love to see him direct more of Alita for sure.
I think maybe that's where it suffered in terms of marketing. If it was directed by James Cameron, he would have received a much bigger marketing push, and he would have gone off the back of his name and from the director of this, and then suddenly it would have been this completely different kind of beast. So but he's just Avatar assessed. That's what he wants to do right now. And talk about sequels we never asked for. But
hey, I want to see it.
Well, that was just
2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we'll see what happens.
Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it? Because right after Titanic, he started writing the Battle Angel script and the Avatar script around the same time. In the early 2000s or around 2005, he was always like, depending on where technology's at, it's going to be one or the other. He hadn't quite decided, and Avatar came to fruition first. And then I remember around the time of Avatar, I was like, is he ever going to make Battle Angel after that? Battle Angel has to be the next film he does after Avatar. Yeah. But then he invested himself so deep into Avatar that it just became like, it was like, no. And then the script that he wrote was like about a gajillion pages, like long. It was like his typical kind of movie where it was like a 3-hour film kind of thing. And you know, that film, Battle Angel got made by chance because turns out Robert Rodriguez was a fanboy just like I was, and you know, the difference is he meets James Cameron every now and again when they talk about 3D films and technology and films. They go to conferences and stuff, and he just spoke to him just randomly, random conversations like, whatever happened to Battle Angel? I'm a big fan, I really want to see your take on it. And then basically he's like, cool, went around his office and he showed him the script. He looked at the script, and James Cameron was like, okay, you know your shit. If you can if you can cut down this script to a satisfying runtime of what a studio wants, you can have the gig. And Robert Rodriguez just got his shit together and just fucking cut that script down, kept all the elements of the script that made it work that James Cameron liked. It's not even hard, just follow the original anime that came out years and years ago on VHS, which is more or less what the film is. And yeah, it really hit the beats, and he got the gig and made the film that it is today. I mean, if James Cameron had done it, would it have been better? Maybe not. We can't tell. But but on the subject of Rodriguez, that moves to my second film. Finish the damn trilogy, motherfucker. I want Machete Kills Again in space. I want it now. I don't care. It's probably not on everyone's watch list, but you know what? I want it, and I want it to be cheesy and terrible and amazing at the same time.
For anyone that doesn't know Sash, can I just say that he has literally been championing the Machete trilogy, or any of them, 1, 2, and now 3, or
What?
probably
He
over a
better
decade.
do it. Danny Trejo's like in his mid-70s now.
Oh, he'll still rock it.
He's still going, don't you worry.
I mean, I think he's doing like taco adverts or something now. So he's free.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's not doing taco adverts. He's got a taco chain, buddy.
He's
The
got a
adverts
taco
are his
chain.
own chain. Yeah, he's got a whole chain of taco
But,
shops. Yeah.
I mean, those films are incredible. Sasha introduced me to the first one. I just loved it, and then we saw the second one together, I think, and we saw the trailer for it, right? In theory, so Machete Kills in Space. We kind of got the trailer for it. We've kind of seen what it potentially looks like. It could be amazing. Yeah, and that's the thing. We were teased.
Yeah.
It's like this is something. This is something that can happen. You know, we're probably going to get Fast and Furious in space first, but you know, it's like Machete Kills in Space. Yeah, we want some of that. Okay, so Sal, what's a movie that you want to see a sequel to?
Well, I had a bunch of it in my head. Red was my number one at the top of the list, but I've been just thinking about. Recently, we were talking about what are called buddy cop movies in a couple of podcasts ago, and I can't get my mind off Nice Guys too. So that could have been
Sasha's with you there.
Yes.
That would have been a brilliant way to go. But simply because there's so much they can do. Because we've seen what are called sequels to movies like that, and they work as long as they have those things. You don't have to create a brand new anything. Just have those two in it. And a good story, and that's it. That's all you need.
They had great chemistry in that movie.
Very much so.
Yeah, I mean, Sasha, that was probably your favorite, if not, was one of your favorite, but if not, maybe your favorite movie of that year.
Yeah, definitely my favorite movie of that year. Definitely my top 5 of favorite movies of the decade for sure. Yeah,
I would agree. I think I am I don't say this very often, but I am a die-hard Ryan Gosling fan. I would literally watch the man in anything. And that is not just because he's hugely attractive, because ladies, yes, he is. But it's also because he's an incredible actor. And I'm yet to see a film he's in where he's actually not great in it. And this is a genred film for him that you would not maybe associate him to do, which is an outright comedy. We're used to seeing him in, you know, things like Drive, or even offbeat stuff like Lars and the Real Girl, or Blue Valentine, or whatever. This is an outright laugh a minute riot comedy, and I honestly was in hysterics. And for Russell Crowe as well. I mean, I am not the guy's biggest fan, but I just loved the two of them together. They play off each other so well in a way that's so unexpected. Anyone who hasn't seen it, frankly, is missing out. And there should be another one. It would be like a great kind of Starsky and Hutch type of duo that could do so many films together. Obviously way better. I don't love Starsky and Hutch, but okay. But that similar type of era, with far more classy and batshit crazy humor, and I think anyone would like that.
Well, I do believe when the movie came out, Shane Black's original intention was to set it each decade. Like if it was a trilogy, he wanted to set the next one in the 80s and the final one in the 90s, and just play off the decades, basically.
So, what, can I ask you, set in the 70s?
Yeah, set in the 70s.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think again it's one of those movies that suffered because it didn't perform commercially. So critically, it got rave reviews, but commercially only did 60 almost about 63 million worldwide. But it had a production budget of 50 million. So you know it barely kind of broke even. That's not including advertising costs, which normally as much as the production. But yeah, and it just performed really poorly. And again, United States and Canada only 36.3 million. So it's the box office numbers, no matter how critically it was received. And I know that Russell Crowe, he's definitely up for wanting to do another one. Rise and Gosling, he's put it on Twitter before. It's like, where's the sequel to this? You know, that's something that he wants to do, because I think it was actually a movie that he really enjoyed doing. I think Russell Crowe is one of these people that often he doesn't enjoy what he does sometimes. But this was actually a director and co-star in a movie he really enjoyed.
That's just it. And that's just it. I mean, you could feel their chemistry on screen. Exactly. You could tell they were enjoying themselves and clearly having a laugh. And I think that really comes across in those films. But
it's the type of magic you can't just make up. Like it is just there between them. And I think for me this is a travesty on the marketing front, because I honestly, at the time of its release, and I'm doing this film podcast, but I'm a film head and I live in the cinema as when it's open, obviously. And I didn't really know that this film was existing when it was out in the cinema. And I say that as a Ryan Gosling diehard fan that would watch him in anything. And I still didn't really know that this had released. And it was only until I remember we had a film club in the company I work for, and this was the film that was presented that week. And I was like, where the hell have I been? Like, have I been living under a rock? Because it was so unbelievably funny. I was crying with laughter through most of the film. And that's just, it's a travesty that didn't get seen by many more people, honestly.
Including me. I did not know it had come out. I literally saw it on the wall of the DVD store. I was like, I wanted to see that. I was waiting for it because I'm a big Shane Black fan.
Yeah.
Because he did all the Lethal Weapons.
It's one of those movies, when you recommend it and people watch it, they say, that's fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've never had anyone come back and say, no, I didn't rate it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. You two clearly never paid attention to my Facebook feed then.
I'm never on Facebook.
Throughout its release.
Yeah.
Rita, what's a movie that you want to see a sequel to?
Do you know what? I have a whole list. I have many things on my list. But my key sort of number one that we haven't mentioned yet, because Dread was also the top of mine, is Tron 3.
Yes.
I really want to see another Tron. Yeah. I was brought into it late through Tron Legacy in 2010.
Yeah.
And all I remember, because we're talking about 3D, like this was another one I remember watching in 3D. And honestly, it blew my mind. The whole scene right at the beginning where he gets hit by like the laser and pixelates himself and it turns 3D. That was it. I was sold from that moment onwards. And I just, for the story, for where it ends and the mix between the real life and the game, I really would love to see where it progresses, especially as technology progresses. And I just think there's never really going to be a time when that story is not going to be fun to tell.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It's not like technology freezes. So I would love to see that personally. And I don't even care who would necessarily be in it, but I would be down if the original the original, but if
the legacy cast came back,
yeah, exactly. But especially Jeff Bridges. I mean,
yeah,
I'd love to see him again in it.
I get the same, because the first Tron came out, I think it was like 82 or something. So you know, I was like 1 or so. You know, not something I saw. So I kind of watched Tron on the back of the fact that Legacy was coming out. You know, again, it's like, it's one of those films I never kind of got around to seeing, but I was aware of it because of the cars, the parodies, you know, in the game, and you see it in Family Guy and all this other kind of stuff around. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back and watch it. And yes, it's dated, but it's still a great movie. And then Legacy came along, and I watched them very close together with a month apart. And I really liked it. I like what they did with it. I like the story. Soundtrack, incredible.
Soundtrack's one of the best soundtracks of any film ever in the history of films.
And the third one's kind of been knocking around for years now. They kept talking about it. The latest, Jared Leto kind of put a tweet that he was going to kind of appear in it, and they kind of put a director to it, but then those tweets got deleted, and Disney are just not really confirming one way or another what's happening with it. Sometimes they said yes, we're not, yes, we are. Again, with Disney Plus, this is something else that potentially could really, we could use that platform. Who knows what, we can hold for that franchise. Sasha, I know you're a big fan of Tron and Tron Legacy, right?
Huge fan. Like you, Ken, like Tron was something that was always about, and I did see it many years ago in my teens and stuff, and I did really like it, but it didn't like blow me away. It didn't make me go, oh, I want more of this. But then I saw Legacy, and it was the greatest Daft Punk music video I've ever seen in my life. And just the way they updated the world really intrigued me.
I don't agree more.
I thought it was a good update for something, for a sequel I never knew that I wanted, kind of thing. And it really, I wanted to see more, basically. And then it just never came. I do want to segue into another film, though, that I'd like
just
to
before
see.
you do that, Sash,
because it's both relevant, but go on.
I'm just going to say that number one, yes, the soundtrack was literally the greatest thing ever in Tron Legacy. Totally. But I remember watching this film with Leo next to me. For those that are regulars of the podcast, you will know who Leo is. And I remember Leo and I like rocking out the whole way through the film to the soundtrack. And not only that, like Sash touched on, the visuals were outstanding. Like the one word I can think of for Tron, be it the first one or Legacy, is iconic.
Yeah.
Whether it's through parodies or whatever it is, there's just nothing really like it that's come around, and that is so stylistically stylistically authentic to what it is. And I really would love to see more of that world and more of what they've created. And yeah, just honestly, it's one of the few films I can say, visually speaking, I would watch it even if the film turns out is not that great. I would still be very keen to know where they take it. So yeah, I'd love to see this.
Most importantly, if they ever did do another one, you need to reunite Daft Punk. Hands down. I know they say they've split apart, but you need to reunite Daft Punk.
Disney money can talk.
That's what I'm saying, man. But yeah, the other, well, you know what? There is a big reason why there is no Tron sequel, but it's the same reason why there's no John Carter sequel. Now, I'll get into that after this. John Carter of Mars, who's seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
I love this movie. I straight up love this movie. And it's based on, a series of novels by Edgar Rice Burroughs, the guy that did Tarzan, I think.
I think I remember his name. Yeah.
I think that's his name. He did like a whole load of novels. The book this is based on is called Princess of Mars, and it's part of the Barsoom saga, and it's huge. A lot of sci-fi as we know it was based on John Carter. Avatar, Star Wars, Flash Gordon, everything, Terminator, everything's coming from John Carter. I mean, like hell, the poster with the things at the bottom there, that was straight out of Attack of the Clones. When they're in the arena and stuff, that's John Carter of Mars. But Star Wars got there first.
John Carter, in terms, you're right, is by the same author who gave us Tarzan, Edgar Rice Burroughs. John Carter's been around since 1912, and it's been hugely influential, but no one often relates it to their character in that world, and all that stuff that was built.
Even Superman, because what does John Carter get when he goes to Mars? He gets kind of super strength. He can leap tall buildings in a single bound. Superman was kind of birthed from there, kind of thing.
Superman came like 20 years afterwards, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
37,
So they're very influential novels to sci-fi. And, you know, Disney did what you've got to understand, and this is where I'm making my point, with both Tron and John Carter, Disney were trying to make the next Star Wars. Okay? They're trying to make the next Star Wars. George Lucas had stopped making Star Wars. He completed his story with 1 to 6 kind of thing. And he was done. He wasn't in the Star Wars business at all. And the story was finished, and he just wanted to continue Star Wars in the animations and stuff like the Clone Wars and stuff, and do that well. And Disney were like, okay, well, we need the next Star Wars. They were hungry for that Star Wars money, so they did stuff like Tron, they did stuff like John Carter, and then what happened was they started to get into the Star Wars business around the time of John Carter. They were in talks with Lucasfilm and George Lucas about buying the company, and because they were in these talks and were looking to buy the company, they were like, shit, well, we can't really have a rival, you know what I mean, sci-fi opus if we're getting into the Star Wars business. So they didn't spend money on, they deliberately didn't spend money on marketing for John Carter, and they kind of brushed it under the rug. And this is actually a story, the director's spoken about it. If you look at it, it literally got thrown under the bus because they wanted to keep George Lucas sweet, and they wanted to be in the business of Star Wars kind of thing.
Well, it could be also that they needed all that money to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well. Because if you look, here's the thing with Star Wars, they know it's a guaranteed $1 billion hit. You know, Force Awakens made $2 billion. You know what I mean? The highest grossing Star Wars movie to date, and that was more than they could ever anticipate. You know what I mean? So they that was literally why they slashed Tron 3, because Tron 3 was definitely on the cards, not straight away, but the director who's doing it, who's now doing Top Gun, he was saying that, you know, they had a script, they had everything ready, and then last minute Disney had cold feet. They were like, no, why? Didn't make as much money as they were hoping for, and you know, they were on the J.J. Abrams train. You know, they were like, right, we're going to make some major money with Star Wars. And what have they pushed over the past like 5-6 years? Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's everywhere now. Before Star Wars, when Lucas was doing them, he took his time with those movies. They came out every 3 years. You know what I mean? He did an extra years. Like back then, a movie would take 2 years to come out. So if it was like straight after the original, but Lucas with the original Star Wars and with the prequels as well, he wanted to keep the 3-year thing, because the 3-year thing meant that you spend more time to get a better product. And you know, it worked. People think less of the prequels, that's fair enough, but do you know what I mean? At least you know the love was behind it. You know what I mean? Whereas Disney just went down the train of releasing one every year till they broke the records, you know. But that's a different subject.
So I mean, John Carter, I think it suffered from a couple of things. I think that it was originally supposed to be a trilogy. The second movie was titled Gods of Mars, but I think that what kind of really suffered was they actually took the of Mars out of the title. Because obviously I know the books originally, like you said, it was like the Princess of Mars or whatever, but if they had John Carpenter of Mars, I think that might have attracted a different kind of audience, because when you say John Carter, it doesn't say anything, it doesn't appeal to anything. Now I know John Wick is different, you know, because that is just a name, but it's got Keanu and it's a very cool poster. But you know, it's, you know, it was the actor, is it Tyler Hitchin they got for it? You know,
he's not a big name.
I forgot his name already.
Sorry, Tyler Kitsch. Sorry, Tyler Kitsch.
Tyler Kitsch.
You know, so you know, it wasn't a huge name. Yes, okay, it had like William Dafoe and stuff like that, but it didn't have really big names in it. And I think it needed to draw on that, you know, like you say, that the grandness of it, and the fact that it was like this sci-fi spectacle, but in the marketing, which you just kind of didn't see. The posters, some of them were just like the outline of John Carter, some were just kind of on this monster, but not. And it's like, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. Because actually, when you see it, people enjoy it, you know. And right now, and I don't know what it's kind of achieving numbers wise on there, but it's a movie when you see, you're like, this is great. And it seems like a really huge missed opportunity.
Well, actually, I should say this, that when the movie was released, in the United States. It did not make it here to the UK yet, but in the UK, it was already being shouted at from every political news media that it was a flop. Hadn't been released here yet. But
Wow.
it was a failure of the marketing point in the sense that they weren't able to hold back the noise. It's already had made it all across the pond that is a flop and nobody went. But I remember going and watching it, and I remember Sasha telling me, "Oh, it was a big flop. Forget about it. Maybe sucks balls or something like that." Anyway, I went in and I watched it, and I was like, "I kind of like this." I don't know why it's crap, but nobody liked it. Nobody went to watch it. It probably makes sense that they never bothered spending any money in the marketing, and nobody went to see it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it didn't do terribly. It took on 280 million worldwide, but his budget was 250. So that, where it just didn't make the profit back. And if they'd done that film sort of like on 100 million, which to be honest, they could probably do on about 100, 150 now because of the special effects and that kind of stuff, because they weren't spending the money on the talent. So I think the budget kind of got out of control on that movie because that seems really, really high. But that's why I didn't, make it. But in terms of actual performance, it didn't do too badly. 280 is a decent return. So,
but that is the unfortunate thing when you what call the critics so-called, or at least the fact that they could not make bank on the first weekend, because that's what how everybody judges the performance of movies on the first weekend bank, rather than what it does overall.
Yeah, and if it bombs, people just say, "Oh, there must be a reason for it," and they don't go see and explore it for themselves.
Exactly. The other thing I was going to say something funny is like I actually recently downloaded Top Gun. I bought it. I stupidly wrote S at the end of it. Top Guns is a porno. So I switched it on. I was going to show to my nephew. I was like, "Oh!" and I jumped back. And
a movie that we should get a sequel to, Top Gun, and we are getting it. Should have already had it, but next year. I'm looking forward to Maverick. That is,
Oh man, me too.
That is a long time.
This, kids, though, is why you don't stream online.
Yeah,
none of this pirates on the high seas.
No, it's not pirates thing. It's Apple.
Oh, okay.
I think usually I thought when there's these what are called porn movies, they tend to make a funny name out of it. It's just an S added to it. That's it. I didn't notice it. And what the hell?
Some other movies that we should have got a sequel to. I think everyone could say Man of Steel. This is a movie we should have got a direct sequel to, but again, Warner Brothers pushed the narrative on their DCEU, and I think we just reached a point now where the Snyderverse is kind of done. Warner's got no interest in it, no matter how well the last film. I mean, I think we're all fans here of the Snyder Cut. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But Man of Steel was definitely a missed opportunity. But the interesting thing is, when you actually go back, what was that became Batman versus Superman, that was originally announced as Man of Steel 2. So there was this sequel, it was Man of Steel 2. And then it's like, okay, now Batman's going to be appearing in Man of Steel 2. And then it just became this whole other beast with Batman versus Superman. And then everything else was kind of put into it.
Studio heads took over that movie.
Yeah.
But you know what? Recent, just in, Discovery have looks like they're buying Warner's off of AT&T.
Merged,
with the merger. Depending what the CEO there wants to do with the DCEU, that all depends on him. So it ain't over till it's over, bro.
Yeah,
it ain't over till it's over, because
and Zach wants to continue, and I'm like, you know what? Let him, just give him free reign, because the people who enjoy his movies, they enjoy his movies, and that will still make money. That will still make
hold on. Is Disney also buying DC as well? Because Warner owns DC, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Warner owns DC, So if they take Warner Brothers,
they get
they
DC
will
then.
take the DC content.
They're trying to rival the Disney's, aren't they? HBO Max, AT&T, CNN, and Warner Brothers.
So another movie with Henry Cavill, which I think we could, I'd like a sequel, is The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I thought that was a great movie. Guy Ritchie. Unfortunately now, maybe because of the other actor who was in that movie hasn't appeared on social media. Even though he was supposed to be my Cyclops, and he's really dated my
Yeah, you got to change that.
X-Men podcast, but yeah, unfortunately, Armie Hammer, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on there, so he's had to drop out of a lot of different films, or films have kind of dropped him.
I don't think he dropped out anything.
The tone of the movie, I thought it was really good, but again, it's just one of those movies that kind of slipped under the radar, and maybe because it wasn't a Guy Ritchie movie in a sense, but I think, you know, it kind of was in a lot of ways, and I don't think people have kind of appreciated that it was in many factors. Yes, okay, I think you could definitely say that regarding King Arthur and stuff like that, but for Man from U.N.C.L.E., I think it was a real good return to a certain type of form for him, and then he's gone on to done The Gentleman, which was just mind-blowing, and that is a movie I want a sequel to.
Oh, 100%. Definitely. But Man of U.N.C.L.E. was definitely Guy Ritchie film as well. There's so many nuances of his in there. And not the ones that give the repetitive transitions, but other things. But yeah, it's a great film. And
so Man of U.N.C.L.E., do we want a sequel?
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with you on The Gentleman. That is one I 100% would want a sequel to. The Man from U.N.C.L.E., I think is I think it's a great film. I think I can easily see where The Gentleman came from Man from U.N.C.L.E. There's kind of a clear transition there for Ritchie's style, I think, and his flair. But yeah, either one of them I'd be up for a sequel, frankly. I think they're both great films.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So some other movies I had, one movie that I thought we would get a sequel to, but we never did, was True Lies. I
did at the time, you know, if it was back in the 1990s, or even early 2000s, just before he became governor, I would have been pro True Lies.
Yes.
I don't know I want to see True Lies now.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah. I think it needed to come sort of like within 4 or 5 years of the original. And I think, you know, I thought the chemistry between Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis was brilliant. You know, and
Tom Arnold was hilarious.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a real opportunity missed without a sequel for that movie. But you know, Cameron,
maybe a reboot.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie that could be remade. Absolutely.
I mean, definitely the concept, the story, definitely. But then it's just kind of like you'd have to model it with a different star doing their own take on it, because you got to understand, like, that IP, people are just going to think Arnold. That's the I think that's the biggest problem. If the general audience can get over that, then fine. You know what I mean? Because it needs to be a take on James Bond, but its own thing. And you don't want to cast someone that is. I think what Arnold Schwarzenegger did with that movie is like, this ain't James Bond, this is Arnold. You know what I mean? So you'd want to have someone that could bring that, maybe. You know, that maybe.
Well, the thing is about Arnold at that time, he couldn't really speak that well. So they had to be big episodic, great action films. Another thing is, it's been over 25-ish years.
Yeah,
it's a generation in the middle. I'm quite sure many of them have not seen it, so they could target them. The question is, would we like it?
Yeah, I mean,
so we'll probably end up hating them.
Yeah, I mean, Arnold's probably one of his most charismatic performances in that movie. You know,
exactly.
He really delivered on the action and the comedy aspect and stuff like that. And I think it is an opportunity missed now, and I think it is going to be more like a remake than obviously a sequel now. I think we are well past that. At the time, a movie that I wanted to see more of, which I was surprised as well, was Wanted.
Interesting.
Angelina Jolie and what's his name?
James McAvoy, no?
James McAvoy,
yeah. Again,
Morgan
that's
as well. Morgan Freeman.
like this kind of like movie universe, a little bit like if you look at like John Wick now, where they've kind of taken the continental aspect of it. And you know, I thought that was going to be a lot more that we could have potentially got from Wanted, because I think that performed really well. What do you guys think?
I wasn't a fan of Wanted. Like, it had certain parts in the movie which I thought was hilarious, and there were certain parts in the movie that I liked. It's a movie which has parts that I like, but as a movie as a whole, I didn't really like. I didn't go, oh my god, like I need to see more of this. But that's just me personally.
To be honest, I'm exactly the same. I enjoyed hit and miss with it. I don't know if that's more to do with my feelings on Jolie in general. I really like her, but I feel like I miss the kind of girl interrupted Angelina Jolie And I feel like I've really enjoyed Mr. and Mrs. Smith, for example, but there are too many, like there's Wanted, there's Salt. There are too many of these kinds of films that I'm just not interested in seeing her do. Like, I know she can be badass. We all know she can be badass. She's badass in her own life as well. I would love to see her do more actual acting. And I just never really got into Wanted too much. So it kind of flew past my radar quite a bit.
Yeah, because it's based off Mark Miller comics.
Yeah.
They definitely had the content there to go away and do it, but yeah, obviously just didn't happen.
Well, the way it ended, it kind of felt like it was there was going to be something, coming up soon.
Yeah. Another film potentially. Again, this seemed to be something that was going to be like a franchise, but never happened. Was Jumper, starring Hayden Christensen.
I only just saw that like 2 months ago for the first time.
Oh, really?
And
What did you think?
You know what? I really enjoyed it. Believe it or not, I think Jamie Bell was fantastic in it.
Yeah.
Hayden wasn't that bad. I was expecting him to be the worst. Okay, I actually did like a Hayden Christensen marathon on what was on Amazon Prime on stuff that wasn't Star Wars. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's not terrible as people say he is. Okay, you got to understand he was in like 2 of the biggest movies ever. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of pressure. He didn't have a good script, and he's with a director who's famous for not being an actor's director. You know what I mean? And it really showed. It really showed in those movies. Revenge of the Sith, he was fine, but in Attack of the Clones, fuck me, Jesus, where did they get him? You know what I mean? But with these other films that he's done, he's not that bad. He's not that bad. It all depends on, you've got to understand, he was very inexperienced. You know what I mean? He's not a classically trained actor. He's very inexperienced in doing Star Wars. And when it came to Jumper, I was expecting the worst. And when I saw it, I was like surprised. I liked it a lot. And I thought Samuel L. Jackson was such a badass adversary as well. And I liked the world they created. And I was, you know what, fuck it. They should do one now. There's no time limit on this. And Hayden Christensen, he still looks the same. So, you know what I mean? Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I mean, in terms of the actual project of Jumper, I mean, at the time, obviously Doug Liman as the director, he was on like a real high. He'd done like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, he'd had the Bourne franchise. Hayden Christensen, was like a big star at the time.
Yeah.
It had a really big budget. They gave him a budget where they were able to film in 20 different cities in 14 countries. They were actually given access to the Colosseum in Rome. So a lot of the stuff that was in there, they actually were able to film some of it in there. So it had this huge potential. But I think, again, what it was more of they kept thinking franchise, and they spent a lot of it kind of building to something for the next movie as opposed to really concentrating on that particular one. So they're almost trying to get ahead of themselves really for a little bit for that. So I think maybe that's kind of where it failed. But yeah, I thought it was a really great movie at the time. I enjoyed it, and I would like to have seen that world a little bit more. For sure. What about some other sequels, guys, that maybe what about like the A-Team?
I was gonna say A-Team and The Losers.
A-Team. Sasha's got the DVD in his hand again.
Yeah.
This is how I know you're my friend, bro. We're on the same wavelength. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 movies that some expected and some that will surprise you. But back to A-Team. A-Team was a movie I watched on a plane. I didn't see it in cinema release. You got to understand, growing up, the A-Team and Knight Rider was my jam. Okay, I watched a lot of cartoons as a child. I didn't really watch that many movie, and I just didn't bother with the A-Team. I didn't watch it in theaters, so I'm to blame. But then I saw it on a plane, and I watched it because there was nothing else watching as I was going to the States to visit my grandma, and I had such a good time with that movie. And everyone was fucking Sharpo Copley as Murdoch slays it. Rampage Jackson. He was good. He was a good B.A. Baracus.
Yeah.
I felt he did the role okay. And Liam Neeson was spot on casting as Hannibal, and I felt Bradley Cooper shined really, really well as Space, and
Bradley Cooper was amazing in it, I have to say.
Yeah.
They all did a really good job with that film, and I just thought it needs a sequel. It needs a sequel. Someone should give Joe Carnahan another chance with that, because what I liked about it, they made it into a heist film. Nobody died. I think the only thing which made me go no was when the 18 van blew up. Okay, it was like, well, I kept expecting it to show up at the end, maybe brand new, and they didn't do it, and I was like, "Fuck you, no!" But aside from the iconic van being blown up at the start, I did enjoy the movie. I enjoyed it a lot. If they do a sequel, BA needs a new ride. You know what I mean? He needs the van rebuilt, man. Like, you can't just blow up the thing. And maybe if they did another one, they could. If you ever watched the original show, around the 5th season, they got that Latino member of the A-Team. Get Oscar Isaac as that guy. Come on, man. Just
oh my gosh, yes, I would love that.
I mean, Sharlto Copley, he was just fantastic in that, and you know, it was just, again, it's one of these movies that just didn't make the box office, and that's the only reason that we didn't get it. I think it made 100. It made about 80 million at the box office or something, and it cost like 110 to make or something like that. I'll double check the numbers, but yeah, it's it just didn't perform, and you know, that's the reason why. You know, when a movie doesn't perform like that, the studios don't want to know. So it made less than 80 million domestically in the US, and it was about 110 million budget. So it just, the maths didn't work out. International box office though, you know, it did about 220. So you know, it wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't what they expected for those kind of probably names that were associated with it. And
is that on Disney Plus?
The 18, I'll have to check. I'll check on that. But do you remember the tease at the end of the movie with John Hamm?
Yeah.
You know, so
I remember that. So,
yeah, they were kind of setting it up for a sequel, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, I need part 3 of The Raid. I need it.
Sasha, I love you so much for mentioning that, honestly.
We need another one, not after Raid 2, not the way that ended, bro. Come on, man, like, come on. The Raid is like my all-time favorite film of the past 10 years. It's film of the decade for me. I've seen it 43 times. No word of a lie. I've seen it bare times. I fucking love it. And I, you know what? Once a week, I have to see Mad Dog face the brothers. I have to. It's just so, oh my God.
I have to back you on this, Sasha, because I remember watching The Raid and just being like in awe of everything that it was. I remember being the only female in that scene as well, I might add. But I just absolutely loved it. Yeah. And for me, The Raid on its own, the first one, was a very simplistic story, but it worked on every single level. And then The Raid 2 took it to a completely like out of this world kind of level in terms of the complexities of the story and the narrative between the different characters and where their relationships lie. And I loved that. I needed that. And I didn't realize how much I needed it until I saw The Raid 2. And I agree, I would love to see a number 3 to that. But to be honest with you, it's one of those films I think I would watch 1,000,000 times more till I die. And they can make 50,000 versions of it and 50,000 different sequels, and I'll probably watch them all and love them all. I just think it's such a class film, and the two of them. It's not like 2 is any less. Raid Redemption is amazing. So
yeah, and that's probably one of the most enjoyable cinema experiences I've had watching a movie with friends as well.
Hell yeah.
The amount of times we're just in the cinema going, oh, I don't think it's ever happened as many times in a movie as I've seen that. Probably closest is maybe John Wick, but it was just such a hard and brutal movie, and just so fast paced. There's action scenes, the choreography, and it was just immaculate. And you know, when you watch it, you realize actually how fast paced it is, because you're when the way you take your breaths watching that movie, that shows just how well it's done. It's absolutely fantastic
cinema to be. And I genuinely think, even though The Raid and the two of them are Indonesian films, it doesn't ever hinder for those people that don't like to watch well, they don't have to watch any type of film that has subtitles of any kind. This isn't going to be one of those films that hinders that at all. It's so punchy. Literally, as Ken said, you're holding your breath the whole way through, and it's exciting. I remember being at the edge of my seat, like yes, eating up the whole everything, every fight scene. And I think that the translation with the simplicity of the story, and then the second one's complexity of the story, it could have been very cheesy, very kind of slapsticky, or even grotesque kind of violence, and the story could have got lost in all of that, but it wasn't. One was kept so simple and true to it, and the other one was so well thought out that they just complement each other really beautifully. And it would be amazing to see a third that would round it off.
I don't think I read any of the subtitles. I think I just watched them.
Yeah.
And unless she's talking about complicities, I'm like thinking,
yeah,
I don't know.
You'll get the gist of it. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. You know what? I've not Googled any film the way I have the Raid, especially the Raid 2 last fight scene. I think I've Googled it about 1 million times and watched it about 1 million times. When I watched the whole film, just that last 10, 15 minutes, man. It's one of the best. The way it ends as well, it's brilliant.
Well, on that note, I think I'm gonna have to go and watch them back to back this week. I'm gonna need to get the mix. Right, we're gonna end on that positive note with the raid. So thank you very much for joining me today, guys. If people want to comment, where can they find you on social media?
Sell F1 at Twitter.
Flashman3 on Twitter, where I'll go on about how we need a sequel to Get Shorty and Be Cool.
Oh yeah. And losers. We haven't talked about.
Okay,
losers.
so Sasha, here's something for you, and you're gonna be very disappointed. I've not seen either of those movies.
And I say this knowing you and loving you. This is unacceptable.
I froze then, so I didn't actually get to see his reaction. So
He saw a couple of times, and he's like, "How are your friends?" That's what he said.
Yeah, literally, like, fuck me.
Yeah, I don't know why. I've never seen either of the movies. I don't.
They're
know.
they're pretty good. They're really good. Not only that,
I've only heard good things. Yeah, I'll have to borrow them off you, Sash. Or I'll find it on some streaming service. Don't worry. And Django Unchained. You want to see a sequel to that, do you?
You know what? I think I really do. I love that film. It's the only Tarantino film where I think it lends itself to one, like that world in the Wild Wild West, dealing with those themes as well. I would, and he's a bounty hunter. I mean, look at Mandalorian at the moment, showing the world of the bounty hunter in a sci-fi setting. Let's do it in the realistic setting that it's set in, and give Jamie Foxx a franchise, man. I mean, hell, like I know Quentin Tarantino says he's not directing it, but directing movies after his 10th original IP, then fine, produce it. You know what I mean? Like, there's already talks about Django versus Zorro in the comic books because he liked the crossover in the comic book. But I know that's him just chatting. But if they said there was a sequel to Django Unchained, I would gladly watch that.
All right. Well, we'll take that concept, and that is going to be our next episode where we're going to talk about Quentin Tarantino and what.
You have one more though.
Everyone's going to groan.
Everyone's going to groan though. This guy needs redemption, bro.
Oh, dude, no.
He's had his chances. Garbage 2 weeks.
He's had his
2 months
chances.
ago.
No, how can you end my podcast on that note? We were at the Raid 3, and now you want like a 6th Rambo movie or some shit. Like, what the hell, bro?
I do want a 6th Rambo movie. Look, 4 was great.
I want to throw a curveball in, but I feel like Sasha's going to take this one with Rambo.
Okay, so 4 was great. 4 was actually a great movie. The one that came out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It could have ended there quite easily.
Should have.
But the thing is that was so great. It reignited the franchise, and everyone wanted a 5th one with Stallone. Everyone did, and the 5th one came. And here's the thing: I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was a bad movie. It just wasn't the Rambo movie I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, everyone had an idea of what it should be. Maybe be something more like number 2, where he's like an old guy. They need his, like, you know, to help him out with something or whatnot. But they went down like the Taken route with it, which is cool, which is okay, but it's just not Rambo. You know, like, it's not. It's never been. It's not. Clearly they don't, because no one saw that film. He'd do more. I don't know how, seriously, like, you can't end it like that, man. Like Rocky 5, Rambo needs redemption just sooner rather than later.
Have you seen the director's cut of the last one?
No.
So
No,
I think
I
that
haven't.
will make a difference to it. So if you go check out the Rambo director's cut of the last one, that is quite a bit different.
Okay, because like it wasn't Sly that directed it, so I was like, okay.
Mhm.
Well, have you seen the director's cut?
No, I've only just heard. I've seen Stallone shout about it, say go see this version of it, basically. So I think he's a lot prouder of the director's cut than he is of the other one.
Ken, I just wanted to add, we wanted to do an episode of the sequels we didn't ask for.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That is an episode we'll do. Sequels we never asked for, but we still got. Okay, so thanks very much for joining us. You can follow myself on Twitter at Ken and Talks Film, Instagram, and so forth. You can catch all the Creative Control podcast episodes on YouTube and all the major platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Stitcher, basically anywhere you get podcasts from, we're there. So thank you very much to the team for joining me today. Much appreciated. And please like, share, and subscribe. And let us know what movies that you wanted to see a sequel for. What are some of the ones that we forgot about? Did you agree with our choices? That's it from us. Thank you very much. Until next time.